Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with another Mare of Easttown video, and this is one of my favorite shows on television, so I love talking Mare of Easttown, but this isn't a review this time around. This is a prediction video, this is a theory video, or like the title says, this is my top 10 unanswered questions that I want to get answered by this week's finale, which I can't wait for. It's bittersweet, but I'm excited to see what the show has up its sleeve. So this is going to be a very fun video. Like I said, I got 10 questions, unanswered questions that I want to get answered on Sunday, and I had to just do 10 because if it was up to me, it would have been about 100 questions on this list, but this is going to be a fun time. But before we dive into this video, make sure you all are following me on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. That way you can get the alert from when I drop new content. It would mean a lot to me if you all can like and share this video. For all my Mare of Easttown fans out there, it helps out the channel a lot, but I also appreciate the support. And listen, I have been so honored to cover this show, and just reading the comments, seeing the engagement on these reviews that I've been doing for this show. So that's why I wanted to make this fun video, just to continue that conversation. So go ahead and light up the live chat. Go ahead and light up the comment section with your thoughts, your predictions, your theories. What are some of the must answer questions you want to have by this finale? Go ahead and leave it in the comments. Let's have a great discussion about this incredible show, Mare of Easttown. So let's go ahead and kick this list off with my number 10 unanswered question that I want to be answered on Sunday, which is, what's the deal with this peeping Tom? How integral will they be in the finale? Because we got to remember, the very first scene of this show was Mare getting a call from Betty revolving around a prowler being outside of her window. And we also have to remember, in episode 5, we open up the episode with the death of Betty, and we don't know if it's the heart attack or if she saw something she wasn't supposed to see, or if someone intentionally made her hit that pole and resulting to her death. So I want to know, what's the deal with the prowler? Is it just a coincidence? Is it just a red herring? I don't think so. I think that this speaks a lot to, number one, the devil's in the details. I said it in my review, when Mare deleted that evidence of that kid, vandalizing her shed in the backyard. I don't think that was a good idea. I think they should have been paying attention to that kid, and I think they may have something to do with the death of Aaron, or if they don't have anything to do with the death of Aaron, they're a prowler. They're out, walking around at night. Maybe they saw who killed Aaron. So I think that prowler will play a big part in the finale. At least I hope that we get some type of resolution to that prowler. Let me know your thoughts on that. But that's my number 10. Moving on to number 9. I talked about it last week. Guy Pearce, great actor. He's Richard. He's in and out of the show, but how integral will he be in the finale? Now, I said it in review last week. I think Richard is more or less a symbol, or he represents hope, a kind of a clean slate, this kind of bright future for Mare to not forget her past, but just kind of move forward, open up this new door to happiness, to hope for that character. But of course, there's some great theories out there. A lot of people think that Richard might just be simply using Mare to write his new book, because he's only been a one-hit wonder back in the 90s, but now he's using his Mare to elevate the story of this cop who's figuring out this missing case in this, murder of this girl, so he could be using her just to get some source material. So I want to know if he is more of the hopeful character and a bright future for Mare, because I'm going to try to find this picture online, but I saw it a couple days ago. There's some picture floating out there with Mare and Richard dancing at what appears to be a wedding. I'm assuming that wedding is Frank's and Frey's wedding. Who knows? But I just want to know, what will Richard's role be in this finale? Let me know your thoughts on that. Moving on to number 8. Speaking of Mare, how important will Mare's family tragedy play into this finale? Now, we know all season long we've had Siobhan, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. Siobhan has her project she's working on to discover why her brother took his own life. Who did he spend the last days on Earth with on the beach? Who was the girl that broke his heart? All that stuff. But how integral will that plot, and also Mare's depression, and also things that are going on with Siobhan, and kind of being the child that was kind of forgotten about with everything going on with Kevin, how integral will that tragedy play into this finale? I think it's going to be huge, and I'm going to get to that when I get to a particular gun and a bullet being found a little bit later. But I think that the tragedy will be key. At least I hope it's key. I want a satisfying conclusion, not only for Mare, but for Helen, for Siobhan, for Frank. I wanted that family to have not to forget what happened to Kevin, but I want a satisfying emotional payoff for that story. But I think that the emotional payoff will come with a tragedy, which we'll talk talk about here in a second. So that is my number 8, which brings us into, let's stick it with Mare. Someone in her family, her cousin in particular, were we looking at the wrong priest the whole time? I'm talking about Father Dan. Now, this whole season, we've been talking about Deacon Mark and him having his allegation with the 14-year-old. Deacon Mark talking to Aaron, disposing of the, her bicycle, and he didn't kill her, but he should have made her go home, all that stuff, and it's pointing towards him. Now, I don't know if we'll get more of Deacon Mark's story in the finale, if he has more things that he wants to reveal, but I want to point the focus on Father Dan. He seems a little bit too clean cut for me because this show has proven one thing, that there are a lot of family members that keep a lot of secrets from one another. And what are the secrets that Father Dan has? I think I said it in my review a couple weeks ago. I think there is some type of story going on with the church, Wayne Potts, these women that have been taken, that have, went to prostitution to get money, that have had drug addictions. One of the girls have come up missing, and Hillary, who's looking for Hillary out there? Is she still alive? I think that there is some type of connective tissue with the church, Mr. Potts, and potentially Aaron. So I think that we've been maybe looking at the wrong priest this whole time, and maybe Father Dan, he's a good guy, he's, with the Lord and all that stuff, but I don't know. We'll see if Father Dan has some skeletons in his closet. So moving on to number 6. This kind of ties into number 7, which is, were the two cases unconnected? Now, Mr. Potts, they say Chief Carter said that he believes that they are unconnected, but I don't know. I think that there are some connected tissues. Again, I can't stress enough that I think that there's something going on with the church, with Wayne Potts, with maybe Dylan, John, Frank, and some other characters, but I think that these cases are not a coincidental thing that they have connected together. I think that that escort website may have been created by someone in the church potentially, and that there's just this some type of theme of like cleansing these women that have went down this path of prostitution, that went down this path of drugs, and this is their way of kind of rehabilitating them in some sense. Because again, we know that Hillary, she went up missing, but she got pregnant and she just went missing. But we all know that the 3 girls with Missy, Katie, and Aaron have 3 things in common, except for one thing for Aaron, at least that we know of, that all 3 of them have had kids, and then particularly all the 2 women have had drug addictions. And then also got to think about Carrie. So there is something to be said about this kind of connective tissue. I think that they're all somehow connected. At least I hope that they're connected, because it would make a lot of sense that there's some connective tissues between the cases. So that is number 6, which kind of ties into my number 5 here, which is there an Easttown sex ring going on in this town? Because again, this is it's not a coincidence that all these women that have been taken, including, we don't know that much about Hillary. It'll be interesting to see if she comes up in the finale, but mothers with kids that suffer from addiction, that go to prostitution on this website. I think that there is something going on in Easttown. I go back to Wayne Potts. He mentioned that he has poker nights. Who was in attendance of those poker nights? Was it a John? Was it a Billy? Was it a Dylan? Was it a Richard? Was it a Frank? Who was involved in that night? What is going on in this town with these girls coming up missing? Who created this website? Is Dylan involved some way? He's pimping out these young girls. He has his friend Jess befriending these girls, creating these websites, getting the money on the side if something went wrong. I can do this for days, right? Coming up with all these theories and going down a rabbit hole. But again, I'm going back to the sex ring thing and going back to Mr. Potts, as they said that he had a clean shave, and the girl that Tam brought to Mare said that he had a beard. Now, of course, he could have shaved. That makes sense, but could have been a John, could have been a Frank, could have been someone else. I think that there's something to be said about this sex ring going on with the church, Mr. Potts, John, Billy, some other characters. I think there's something to be said about something going on more sinister in Easttown. Let me know your thoughts on that, which brings us into number 4. Could that gun that we found last week with the Colt revolver special detective gun have a big part in the finale? I say yes. Now, I talked about it in my review last week. You can see my full thoughts on it, but just long story short, Siobhan, this is my Siobhan theory, being the killer. Siobhan knows that no one goes into that attic after Kevin took his life. That would be such a perfect place to put the murder weapon. Now, why would Siobhan kill Aaron? Well, right now I'm thinking, going back to last week's episode, when she was working on that video, Kevin said, this is a song about the girl that broke my heart for the first time. Was that girl Aaron? And if it was Aaron, what went wrong in the relationship? And whatever did go wrong, did it put Kevin down that path of drugs, meeting Carrie, having this child with Carrie, and ultimately suffering from his depression, leading to him taking his own life? What does that mean for Siobhan finding out all that? That points towards Aaron destroying her family, making her brother ultimately take his own life and just ruining her life for the rest. Because what did that mean for Siobhan? She found her brother. She has that animosity. She has that hate towards that person that made her brother do that in a certain sense. So that's the motives right there for me for Siobhan taking Aaron's life, because of this hatred that she has towards his character. That's one thing I'm thinking about in regards to that gun, and that would be a pretty interesting twist. Let me know your thoughts on all of that theory there, which brings us into the picture that we all zoomed in on, including myself. The picture that Jess gives Chief Carter. What's on the picture, ladies and gentlemen? I tried to zoom in. The only thing I can make out, it seems like there's a baby in the picture, which would allude to DJ being in the picture, but who else could have been in that picture with DJ? Let's talk about some suspects. One being one of the Ross brothers, and particularly John. Now, I think that John killed Aaron because he impregnated her, or Billy could have, and it could have just, they don't want their family to be known as a family that's having incest with each other, whatever the case may be. So I think that John might be in that picture there. So that's one person. Could it be Mare's children, one of her children at least? Could it be Kevin? Now, obviously, I don't think DJ was in the picture, because if we go by the timeline, Kevin took his life in February. The baby, DJ, was born in November. So they could have, all three of them, Aaron, DJ, and Kevin, couldn't have been in that photo together, but he could have been in that photo alluding to their relationship that might have been kept under secrets to everyone in town except for Mare, Helen, Frank, and Siobhan. I think that they might have known that Kevin had a relationship with Aaron, got her pregnant, but no one talked about it, which might speak to, if you go back to episode 1, you all remember, if you don't remember, before Mare gets the call about Aaron's death, what was the person that she saw, the hallucination she had? She saw her son, Kevin. Also, it goes back to, again, the connection with Frank. Why was Frank taking care of Aaron? Not just because he's a good guy, he felt bad, he lost his son, so he wants to help her out. Well, what if that was his grandson that he was helping out? Speaks a lot to this family secret, so maybe one of Mare's family members were in that photo. Let me know your thoughts there. And then last but not least, a lot of people are thinking that Lori had something to do with the death. The only thing I can see with Lori being involved, we know that John's a cheater, he's a liar. She sees Aaron as a threat to taking her family out, with everyone knowing that her husband had an affair and ultimately got his cousin pregnant, so she takes her out. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on all that stuff in regards to who do you think was on that photo. Can't wait to find out on Sunday, which brings me to my final 2 parts, which is, let's talk about the 3 main suspects that the show wants us to believe killed Aaron. Starting off with Dylan. Now, Dylan is a shady individual, ladies and gentlemen. What a roller coaster of a season for that character. He went from being a terrible ex-boyfriend, allowing his new girlfriend to beat up his ex-girlfriend, who happens to be the mother of his child. Then we see him get shot in the episode, which you're like, oh man, he got shot, And then we see this kind of redemption of a source for the character. He seems to be, maybe not be able to walk. He has the intimate moment with DJ, even though he's not the father of that son, of that child. And then we see him get back to his douchery ways. We see him burning the journals, which we'll talk about here in a second. We see him taking the money that was supposed to be given to DJ. We see him threatening to kill Jess. There's a lot to look at with Dylan. My main theory right now with Dylan, I don't think that he killed Aaron, but I think that this goes back to my theory about this online website. Jess having access to create this website. I think that he was pimping Aaron and using girls, or using Aaron in this case, for money, exploiting her for, and all that stuff. So I think that has to be something there, because he says to Jess, we are all 3 connected in regards to setting up this sex ring and maybe being a part of Mr. Potts and all that stuff. So I think Dylan isn't quote unquote directly responsible for her death, but I think he ties into why she was killed, because of maybe the potentiality of this kind of sex ring situation, if it's not Siobhan that took Aaron's life. So that's my thoughts on Dylan. Let me know yours in the comments, which brings us to number 1. Let's talk about the Ross brothers, Billy and John. Now, last week, the show wants us to believe it's Billy. They gave us the clothes, they gave us the confession, but like I said in my review, and I still stand by this, I think Big Brother is taking advantage of the little brother, making him say that he killed her. Maybe he made Billy move the body from the park to where we found her at the creek. I think that the Big Brother is taking advantage of him and just making him do all these things. Maybe he made his brother kill Aaron. Who knows? But I don't think Billy, that goes back to, I don't think he shot her. I think that Billy just happened to be involved. He moved the body. He's making himself believe that he did it. But I think John is the culprit of actually killing Aaron, if it isn't Siobhan, if it isn't Dylan, or someone else. But I think that it speaks a lot to what John had to do. revolved around being the father of this child and also, you know, breaking up his family and all that stuff. So I think it's a lot to be said in revolving around John setting up his brother, immediately telling Lori that his brother told him this, and then we see that gun in the tackle box. If things go south, he has to protect himself. He already gave his alibi to Mayor. He already told his wife that he thinks it's Billy. If something happens to Billy, they can just go off of that. And then obviously Mayor's thinking that it's Billy as well. Closed case, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think that we will get the reveal that John's not only the father, but he was also responsible for taking her life. If it's not Siobhan, if it's not Dylan, which, by the way, I'm looking at my notes and I almost forgot this here. Let's talk a little bit about another Ross family member, which is Ryan, the son of Lori, who I know some people think Lori might have done it, but also the son of John. Let's talk about Ryan for a second here, guys. I remember when I saw him look at that TV and when he saw Missy on the screen, it was almost like he knew who she was. You know, we know that he found his father having an affair with his mom, and we think it's this woman by the name of, you know, Sandra. But some people think that Ryan might have something to do with the murder of Aaron. I don't know if he would go down that route. We've seen him get upset when he took care of his sister and bashed that kid's head in with the lunch tray. Could Ryan be responsible for the death of Aaron? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, or another character that we talked about in this video. So yeah, I'm just looking at my notes, and yeah, those are questions. Those are unanswered questions that I want to get answered by this Sunday. And again, there's probably 100 other questions that I could have wrote down, but those were the ones that were really pressing to me in regards to what I hope to be an incredible finale, which I know for a fact will be an extended finale based on the information that HBO has given me regarding what to look forward to, which I haven't seen the finale quite yet as I'm pre-recording this video, but I can't wait to see it, which brings me to Sunday, May 30th, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. We're doing a live watch along, myself and the community of the Easttowners. We're going to watch it together. We're going to have some light commentary about the episode, and we're going to break it down. I'm going to have like a traditional review that I'm going to either drop that night or the following day, but I want to experience this finale with you all live here on this channel, so I hope you all can tune in. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, leave your questions, unanswered questions in the comments, your thoughts, your theories, your predictions, and let's have a conversation about it all in the comments below. As always, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. That way you don't miss the watch along. That way you don't miss my finale review of Mare of Easttown, and that way you don't miss any of my other content that we do on this channel. So hope you all are staying safe, and we'll see you on the next video.